Guys, this whole video has been sponsored by Genshin Impact! If this is a dream, please don't wake me. Basically, the folks from Genshin Impact reached out to me and were like, hey, you want to make Ganyu as a doll? And I was like, say less. So indeed, in today's video, we are going to make the one and only Ganyu. But that's not all. Because you guys know me at this point, I had to sprinkle in a little bit of pizzazz and crazy on this project again. And we'll make her 80 centimeters or 2.5 feet tall. Pixie did an outstanding job in sculpting her face again and all of accessories and shoes. My friend Frosty is printing the bigger doll again in filament because it's much lighter and cheaper than resin. And while we're waiting for the body to arrive, how about we print her face, horns, hands and feet? Okidly dokidly. So the doll pieces in the resin printer just finished printing and Leon was so kind and already sent them for me. It's a cute little face and I also printed the hands and the feet and our horns already. And in the meantime, I received a package from Frosty. Yay! So how about we unbox this now and then we spray paint her in a light skin tone because yeah, she looks a little pale. Alright, so with all the pieces unboxed now, let's super cute already. I spray painted her hands blue because she is wearing gloves and I couldn't sew them in this size this time. But I actually had quite a different idea for the hands in the very end. Just wait and see. For now, how about we make her wig? You are about to witness one of the greatest patches in Genshin Impact, as patch 4.4 has been online since January 31st. There are two new characters, Xianyan and Gaming. You can take part in the Lantern Ride Festival, where you can get bonuses like intertwined fates and poles, a free 4-star character and more. There are also whole new areas to explore, like the Shenyu Vale located in Liyue. We got new outfits, monsters, quests, materials, wildlife, event wishes, and it just keeps coming.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
There's a whole slew of adjustments and optimizations too. But you know me, the thing I'm most excited about is that I just realized that I'm wearing a green shirt with a freaking green screen. But the thing I'm of course most excited about are the new skins, like Ganyu's for example. So don't miss out on these awesome updates and scan the QR code here and use this code between these dates to get 60 Primo Gems and 5 Adventures experience. And with that being said, let's continue on
Coco Goat. What the heck is a Coco Goat?
As you can see, I made a wig cap from some sheer tights and PVA glue and mapped out where I need to glue the hair. For sad hair, I cut off wefts from a wig that are ready to install like this. Ganyu's hairstyle is really not that easy, so I consulted my professional hairstylist Chris, and they told me that I should divide the haircut into different sections to make my life easier. So I start by gluing the long back of the wig first until the marked line on the wig cap. After After that was done, I then glue more layers on top, but cut these shorter. Ganyu's haircut is a little like my own haircut right now, with long back hair and a layered bob-like haircut on top of the head. For a good finished look, I make sure to cut and style each layer before gluing and cutting the next one. I also had the idea to use some hair wax this time, für den perfekten undone look. I wanted to see if this was a good thing to use, and oh my god guys, this stuff was such a game changer. With just a tiny amount of it, I was able to really mold the hair into place, and if needed, I just fried it in shape with a hair iron and used hairspray and a heat gun. But it worked! So I could use this technique for the whole wig and basically made all the layers in this manner. To give the bangs Ganyu's signature look, I separated them into sections as well and styled them into shape with wax. I slide down the scissors while cutting for a thinned out look, and in general try to thin out the ends of the hair for a lightweight look. To make the part, I folded around some glued wefts with my hair iron, glue them on top of the head and melt them down with more heat. And of course Ganyu's ahoge can't be missing, so I styled it into shape with heat, hairspray, wax and sheer willpower. The wig is now almost done. I just need to give it the gradients that Ganyu's hair has, so I decided to take some dark blue acrylic ink and airbrush the ends of the wig until they have a nice saturated blue shade. It's much easier than dyeing in my opinion. Blue Pixie sculpted the horns of Ganyu and I printed them as well, and now just need to paint them with acrylics. And then I simply slap them onto the wig with some hot glue. And with that, the wig is completely done. I must say this is one of the best, if not the best doll wig I have made so far, I think. When I started, I wasn't sure I would be able to nail this hairstyle, but I guess you learn a skill during the process, right? It also looks pretty good from the back. Now let's paint Ganyu's face next. Ganyu's face sculpt looks so extremely cute, so I was stoked to paint her. First, however, we need sparkly shimmers all over her face, and then I can add some pink blushing on her cheeks and inner corners of her mouth. Afterwards, I can then take a gray pencil and sketch out the eyelines. I tried to draw them as close to Ganyu's original look as possible, because the closer you draw them to the original, the more likely it will look like the character in the end. At least I hope so. I mirror the whole thing to the other side of cam and also decided to sketch out her eyebrows with a blue pencil and blend it in with a brush to make it look softer. After sealing her with MSC, I can then go in with some black acrylic paint to line the sketched out eyeliner. I take different kinds of brushes to make it look neat. I did have a hard time to paint nice lines this time because for some reason my hands decided to be super shaky on that particular day. I also add some more detailing to the mouth and paint her lid lines with brown gouache paint. For the brow routine, I also use some acrylic paint and line them in a nice powdery blue. I then deepen the blush on her cheeks a little more and add a final layer of shimmers because we want her to be sparkling like a galaxy. I decided not to go for a glossy lip this time because I felt this fits Ganyu better. To make Ganyu's eyes, I printed the bases on my 3D printer and the iris design on some glossy cardstock. I cut it out with scissors and then glue the iris to the center part of the eye base. Then I take my UV resin and add a small dome on top of the resin and let it cure for 2 minutes. Afterwards, they look like this, and I decided to gloss the whole eyes over as well with my UV top coat to give them a glossy look. I cure it again for 2 minutes and end up with two perfect, two-dimensional looking, three-dimensional anime eyes that are now ready to be installed into Ganyu's face. Here you can see the finished face again, and here are the eyes. And the rest is post-production Elisa's work. Holy smokes, she looks absolutely gorgeous. Oh my god, my voice even cracked. I love how anime faces always give such a 2D illusion. Now I'm really stoked to make her outfit actually. I, however, first need to figure out how to face this side quest. Okay, so in order to make Ganyu's outfit, I kind of first need to figure out how to even do it. And I decided it would probably be best to make a leotard with some tights underneath and then basically mount the skirt and dress panels on top of the leotard and make her sleeves completely separate from the whole thing. And since I wanted to make all fabrics by myself this time and not get them digitally printed, I actually had to sit down and vectorize all of Ganyu's fabric patterns and decorative elements. This took more than a day and my back really hated me for this. But with the digital work done, we can make the outfit starting with the tights. To make Ganyu's tights, I use an actual human tights and first cut off one leg, open it up with my scissors so it's big enough for the pattern piece, and use my Fusselbürste to remove any lint, and then pin on the pattern and cut it out completely out of focus. For the golden strips on Ganyu's tights, I cut them from golden fabric vinyl and now iron them on for 20 seconds at 145 degrees Celsius. I peel off the film and end up with 2 leg pieces ready for assembly. To sew them, I first close the center front seam finished sides in. Afterwards, I'm doing the same to the center back seam. And then there's only one long seam from one foot all the way towards the other left. So I pin the seam together good sides in and then sew them with my sewing machine on top of some paper so the machine wouldn't feast on the elastic material. Afterwards, I can just carefully remove the perforated paper. For the additional ornaments on the tights, I decided to cut them from some golden pleather with my awesome X-Tool P2 laser cutter. I know cutting these things with a laser cutter could be seen as cheating, but you can totally cut them with scissors or an X-Acto knife as well. It just takes longer. They did turn out really nice though, so I ironed on some fusible sticky interfacing to the back of them and then carefully ironed them to the tights with the baking paper in between. I pressed them on until they cooled down and have a nice ornament that is stuck to the tights neatly. With all the ornaments and an elastic on the waistband added, the tights are done and look really nice, I think. So now we can make the main piece, the leotard dress. I first cut out the pattern pieces from black jersey fabric and will now sew the back pieces to the front piece along the side seams good sides in. I then flatten the seam allowances on the inside and glue around the leg and armhole seam allowances. Then I sew the back seam together and also the crotch seam right after. For the collar, I printed the vector graphics onto iron-on transfer fabric vinyl for light-colored fabrics and went ahead and ironed them on and cut them out. I now need to glue around the seam allowances and will do that with my Uwe glue stick. Since these doll clothes don't need to be washed and are made from thin fabrics, it's possible to just glue them with a glue stick. If you want to wash them, don't. After I was done gluing the pieces, they look like this, and I also sewed together the lower collar pieces. And now for a little bit of a stronger hold, I take my Uhu Alleskleber and glue the bottom collar pieces to the top collar piece. I end up with a finished collar that looks like this and can now take the leotard, on which I also added some dark red details with fabric vinyl, and then also use the power of the Uhu glue to bond the collar and the leotard together. In the end, I add some super thin glue-on Velcro to the back of the leotard. I like to do these things when the clothing piece is actually on the doll, so I can make sure it fits perfectly when closed. I will add more accessories to the collar later, but let's make her skirt next. I printed the design onto iron-on transfer vinyl as well and will iron it to both sides of the fabric so that the skirt will have the design on both sides and therefore will look good from, well, both sides. The great thing is that I could just cut out the skirt with scissors and they didn't need any cleaning up around the edges because the vinyl fused the fabric together nicely so it wouldn't fray. I only had to glue around the top seam allowance and added velcros to put the skirt onto the leotard. To make the back panels of the skirt, I ironed the design onto fabric like I did on the skirt before and will iron some gold vinyl that I cut earlier to the back side of it. I make sure they align with the print on the other side, iron them on, peel off the protective vinyl and press them again to really fuse in the vinyl into the fabric. I will then proceed and cut some more golden ornaments with my laser cutter. For the outside ornaments, I thought it would be a nice idea to not just make the ornaments from fabric vinyl, but to actually make them look more three-dimensional. Why is my thumb so long here? I did already cut the side panels from fabric here as well and now just fuse them together with some white pleather pieces so that they're not transparent and a bit thicker in general. After doing so successfully, I did a little dance and then first glue around the seam allowances that I won't add golden trim to, and then add some seam tape to the back side of the gold trim as well, place it onto the panel and iron it on. I do the same to the other side panel piece and of course to the front piece as well. To make the little red part on the front, I painted some white pleather red because I didn't have red pleather. Then cut out the pieces with magic and glue them together with the power of friendship. And when the piece was dry, I then just need to glue the whole thing onto the back of the front piece. The magic hands again, because I was happy how good this looked. Now I just have to do the same spiel on the back panel pieces that we ironed earlier and will add the gold trim with a finger snap. And also apparently glued the pieces in shape already. With that, all the panels that will be added to the leotard and skirt are done. Yay! So how about we add them to the outfit to see how it looks like. I placed some velcros for the front and side panels that I glued earlier and will add the back panels by gluing them onto the skirt piece with my Uhu glue. Now, only all the accessories are still missing on the outfit, so I printed them in resin, and they look so satisfying and delicious for some reason here. These are some of the elements that will go into the outfit, so I paint them gold with my favorite golden paint and let them dry for a while. And then I can add them to the outfit with some glue. I also painted this big piece and glue it to the back of the outfit. And of course, Ganyu's bell can't be missing either. For making Ganyu's vision, I need to make some tassels first. I already painted the 3D printed beads and will unravel this red cord to make the tassel. I first separate it like this and then unravel the rest like that. Then, using my hair straightener, I flatten out the fibers, fold them in half, brush them out, and then repeat the step until I end up with something like this. As you can see, I added a tiny wire to keep the fibers in place and then add a tiny satin ribbon and glue it around the top part to make the tassel look like a tassel. And then I thread it into the bead and just glue it in place before cutting it to the correct length. Leon went ahead with the knotting technique and made this beautiful knot for the vision, and I just have to glue the beads with the tassels to the end of the cord now. I printed the vision in clear resin, painted the frame gold, and now make the middle clear again by adding some UV top coat to the front and back of it. I cure it under my UV lamp for a couple minutes before taking the small vision that I printed onto some cardstock and apply it to the back of the gemstone with some more UV resin. It turned out really nice, so I can now take my hot glue gun and glue the vision to the knot and finish this little outfit accessory with it. I attach it to the side of Ganyu's dress using the strong bonding power of hot glue, every artist's best friend. And additionally, I use some uhu glue to affix the missing cords onto the back of her dress, tucking them underneath the dress panel pieces and securing them in place with Velcro. The very last thing to make for Ganyu's dress is the little ribbon on the back side of the collar. To make it, I made a little fabric loop, then fold it together like this and push a threaded needle through, wrap the thread around a couple times, and we have a cute little ribbon. To hide the thread, I just glue another fabric strip around the middle and then start to add all the little accessories that Leon kindly painted in the meantime to both the back side and the front of the ribbon. I made some more tassels in the same way as on the belt and glued them to the tiny ornament that also goes onto the ribbon. And to finish off the bow, I add the little studs around it like this, and in the end glue the ribbon to the collar ornament that I also printed and painted gold. Perfect! With this last step, the main outfit piece of this project is done. The devil really lies in the details here, with all these little tiny accessories that you have to somehow craft in doll scale, but I do enjoy making these tiny little details, not gonna lie. But how about we finish the actual outfit by making Ganyu's sleeves? I prepped them in the same way as the skirt and glued around the top seam allowance. Now I will sew them together, finished sides in, and then turn them inside out. I then take the second sleeve piece and glue around all the seam allowances first. Afterwards, I glue this piece along the top seam allowance of the first sleeve piece. For the top piece of the sleeve, I take this prepped printed piece and first fuse it together with some pleather again. This time I use some fusible interfacing for patches, iron it onto the backside of the fabric first, then peel off the protective layer, iron it onto the pleather, and then cut the whole piece out as accurate as I can. It took a while, but it looks really neat like this. I glue the piece together and then we'll need to prep the second top piece in the same way as the first one. And boom! What a transition, by the way. And then I glue the piece on top of the first top piece and end up with this final topper where I can now insert the lower arm piece and glue it in place. I then make the second sleeve the same way, and with the sleeves done, the main part of the outfit is done. Now there are just a few more but very neat things missing. To make Ganya's shoes, I simply 3D printed them as well, and Leon painted them in the correct colors. He also made some more decorative knots that I can now cut to length and add them to the ankles with some Velcro strips. Remember earlier in the video I said I wanted to make Ganyu's hands differently? That's because shortly after I printed her original hands, I found a BJD jointed hands file online. So I bought it, printed it, and will now try to string the hands. Oh boy. After sorting all the hand and finger pieces, I start by threading an elastic through the tip of the pinky finger, then the middle and then the lower part of the finger, and then through the socket for the pinky finger. I leave one end short and one end long, and then use the long end for the rest of the fingers, continuing with the ring finger, then the middle finger, and so on until all the fingers are strung. It was actually not as scary as I thought it would be, luckily. So now I just need to thread the elastic through the wrist joint, knot it together, and end up with a jointed hand. This looks honestly so freaking cool, and it really wasn't as bad. So if I can do it, you can as well. I made the second hand the same way and now need to spray paint them blue. Why didn't I do that before assembling? I was actually simply scared that I would lose some of these tiny finger pieces. The finished hands look really pretty and I can't wait to see them on the actual doll. For that you will need to wait until the presentation of the doll though. Of course I also wanted to make a doll stand for Ganyu and I thought it would be really cool if it would resemble her vision. So to make the doll stand I'm gonna use some acrylic, some vinyl, a wooden stick and this 3D printed topper. So with all the materials gathered together, let's make a little building montage.
I don't deny there's some strange evolutionary process going on, but mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that.
The finished doll stand looks so nice and it fits Ganyu perfectly. I don't know, but making doll stands for some reason has become one of my favorite things to do. Okay guys, so how about we make Ganyu's bow as well? Because Blue Pixie actually sculpted it and it's too pretty not to make. So I already 3D printed it and now just need to assemble and paint it. And I promise you guys, after that we are done. And with the bow done, I can assemble Ganyu for the very first time, which is always the craziest moment for me. Oh my god, guys, I just put her together and she turned out so cute. So I guess it's presentation time! Woo! And here is my big Ganyu doll. This project was honestly so much fun. And I want to thank Genshin Impact again for sponsoring this video. And as always, thank you also to all of my patrons and channel members. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In the next video, I will finally continue with the Monster High redesigns. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching and see you soon. Okay, bye!